it's a personal story because this is based off your sister's memoir. I think it's great. You write fiction. Your sister's writing a memoir. And is it true that you were the one that convinced her to write this memoir in the first place? And what did that look like?
It looked like me threatening her. I told her if she didn't write a book, I would never talk to her ever again. My sister had this incredible love story when she went to study abroad in college, where she bumped into a Sicilian chef on the street, and they had this mad love affair that changed the course of her life, our family's lives, his family's life. It was such an amazing story. And my brother-in-law has since passed. And after he died, Tembi, who is now a citizen of Italy, who has land in Sicily and who developed this relationship with her mother-in-law, even though they had no shared language. They could kind of meet in the middle with Italian, but her mother-in-law spoke Sicilian and Tembi spoke English, and they were just trying to figure it out. But they became this kind of second love affair about mother and daughter that was so beautiful and was so about how love is bigger than cultural boundaries. And she would write these emails home from Sicily. And she would be telling me about the people in the town and the gossip among the widows and who's fighting over what seats at the church. And then she would also be talking about her journey as a widow and being a mom, of a single mom. And they were funny and they were touching. They would make me cry. And I said, my God, you have to write a book. And it probably was years after I said that before she finally did. But I'm so happy she wrote it down. And the reason why I said it to her, it was a book I wanted to read. Like, I wanted to read what was going on in her mind about all of it. And I wanted to read about Sicily and wanted to read about this love affair. I wanted all of that. And I convinced her to do it. And yeah, I'm so happy she did.
Mm. So what has this process been like, working with your sister? And then again, the additional element of working with her on something that's very personal.
Working with my sister has been one of the most transformational experiences of my life. I've known that she was my partner in life, that, I got a husband partner, I got a mom, dad partner, but she is one of my partners in life. I didn't know that we could have this other kind of partnership where we have each other's backs so fully, and that we could tell a story together, and that our story sensibilities are both, they have a center lane, but then there's one lane that's her, and her sensibility is one lane that's mine. And they somehow braid it all together to make, I think, a really good show. It was wonderful having her there. She was a part of the writer's room. She was a part of all the pitches. We wrote the pilot together. We wrote the finale together. It was just wonderful to do that. The personal part of it was very hard. And the way we approached it was to, one, in the adaptation, the characters have different names. There are some big, biographical details that are different. I always tease her. I'm actually the younger sister, but somehow in the show, I got to be the older one. How did you pull that off? But no, I'm actually the younger sister. But that was one of the ways that we created a little psychic distance for both of us, because you have to just, at the end of the day, tell a good story that has the essence of the book, that has all these themes we want. But you can't just lift the book and slap it down. You definitely have to bend it and change it. So changing names, changing biographical details. We also made a pact, unspoken, to protect each other. So she had my back as a first-time showrunner, meaning there's some stuff you couldn't quite say to me because she wasn't going to have it. And then I also, as her sister, protected elements of the story that were untouchable for us. They were non-negotiable. This is not being changed, period. We'll bend on a bunch of stuff, but there's some things in this show we're not bending on. And I also protected her in terms of, there were days where she could not be on set because it was just too difficult. Days where she didn't really need to be in the writer's room to kind of relive certain really heavy things. And I would just say, tell me the top 5 things you want me to go into this shooting of this scene with. And I will make sure to communicate that to the director, and they'll communicate it to the actors, and you don't have to be there. So it was just great. I mean, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I've written 5 books and I have a child, and this is the hardest thing I've ever done. It was 2 countries, 5 cities, 3 languages. People, when we started shooting, I wasn't vaccinated. Like, we were Netflix's first US show to come back after the pandemic. And it was just a lot. And, some of our actors didn't speak any English at all. It was just wild. But also to know that at any given moment, she and I could look at each other and silently communicate, boy, this is magic what we're doing. How did we do this? Or, no, something's off here and we got to figure out what it is. Or just to go cry together or go laugh in the trailer together. It was magic. And of course, none of it would exist without her. So it feels funny to say I couldn't have done it without her because it wouldn't exist. But I think she would say the same thing, that it was something that only could have happened with the two of us making this decision to do it together.
You've written in Hollywood for a long time, and as you mentioned, you're a very acclaimed fiction writer. So, how was the showrunning experience for you?
Oh, baby, it is a really hard job. No job that doesn't put somebody on the moon or solve cancer should really be this hard. It's just you're doing the creative. You are creatively galvanizing a room of writers to organize the story, but you're also managerially running a calendar about due dates and things like that. You're managing the writers and the writers' feelings, and you're also dealing with budget and making cuts because you don't have time to shoot that, and you're doing that all through the shooting. It's a holding so many hats, and you're the one person who has to hold every beat of the story all the way through. And even you have to remember, people will make a statement about, oh, but this scene is going to do that, and I said, no, remember, we cut that scene. We don't
Mm.
have that anymore. Or
Well, real
something.
quick though,
Go ahead.
I hate to cut you off, but for people who are listening
Yes.
who do not know what a showrunner is, whatever show you like out there in TV land, there is somebody in charge of sort of everything, how the show runs. So just explain loosely what the job description is for a showrunner.
Essentially, the showrunner is like what a director is to movies. The showrunner is the last line of defense in everything. We pick the department heads, we pick the costume heads, we approve every costume, we approve every prop. We hire the writers that will gather in a writer's room. We not only do we assign the scripts, assign the outlines and all of that. I Every script has my little sign on it, signature on it. Like there are lines of dialogue, if I didn't write it, that I rewrote a scene or I moved things around. I was the one in charge of the tone of it, the voice of it, and kind of like every beat of it. I mean, of course, along the way, people are ad-libbing great lines, but then it's my job in post and editing to say, yeah, keep that ad lib in. That's actually adding to something. But with this other ad lib, I knew that it helped the actor do the scene, but it doesn't work for the final product. Or there were scenes that we loved that we needed to keep, we just don't have time. So how do you decide which scene stays, which scene goes? All of that comes through the showrunner. They're the final voice kind of in everything. And it is a very hard job.
So you were saying that you had to wear so many different hats. Like, how were you able to manage that? Because again, you're used to writing the material, and then that kind of being the end of your beginning and end of your job. I mean, there are rewrites and other things, but how did you balance everything?
Well, one of the things that I've been lucky about is that I've had really good jobs in TV, and I've had really good bosses in TV. And I worked on Empire was my first TV job. Then I worked with Ava DuVernay on When They See Us. And the person who became my mentor was a woman named Liz Tigelaar, who was the showrunner for Little Fires Everywhere. And I just so admired how she did her job, not just in terms of I was watching her balance everything, but also I loved that her way of being a leader, she somehow got us to our best selves and to do our best work without ever donning a kind of hierarchical way of being. Somehow I feel like Liz, as a showrunner, was the same Liz when she was getting coffee for everybody. Like somehow she presents with this kind of warmth that makes you want to rise up to what she's doing, as opposed to a top down, do stuff how I want, and I'm mad at this and I'm mad at that. It was chill. It was good. It was deep. The conversations in the writer's room were deep. And I think that job laid the groundwork for me to kind of copy what I had seen her do and borrow from what I had seen and I've also had all women bosses. I've only ever had women bosses, and we're better at balancing things anyway. I mean, just our brains are just better at multitasking, compartmentalizing, holding more stuff. And I got to watch some of the best do it. I watched Ava during When They See Us. She was in deep post production work on Wrinkle in Time while also coming to our writer's room and dealing with the heaviness of what that story was about the exonerated five. Like, I watched her be able to do that. And I got to watch some of the best in the business do their job. And I just tried to emulate and learn. And I didn't always do it well. I mean, I'm talking a good game, but there was days when it was not easy, and there were a lot of tears. I'm a big crier, so there were a lot of tears.